Welcome back. Let's talk about Prince Harry. Apparently he's coming back to Britain next week on one of his increasingly numerous return visits. And he is going to get limited, I'm quoting here, limited police protection. That was always part of his deal, although he's banned from having full armed police protection when he comes back here because he's not a frontline royal. If he applies in advance for some kind of protection, it was always available to him. So he's getting limited police protection. But the kind king, as always, has offered his son a place to stay at Buckingham Palace, but Harry, in what is becoming something of a tradition, has turned that offer down. That will force costs up for the Met Police, who will have to watch him at some hotel or something like that. So, meanwhile, his bid to sue the Home Office to demand full armed protection, police protection for him and his family when they return to Britain, continues apace. It's already cost him about £1 million. He's been told by a judge it will never succeed, and yet, like a dog with a bone, he won't let go. Let's talk to the author, former cabinet minister, of course, but also the author and What Do You Do? What the Royal Family Don't Want You to Know, Norman Baker. Norma, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Kevin.
What do you make of this? So he's coming back. He has, in terms of the agreement he has, applied in advance for limited police protection. They won't be armed, so he's going to get that. He's refused his dad's offer of a place to stay at Buckingham Palace. And by the way, the police would love him to stay at Buckingham Palace because, of course, it's pretty secure. They don't really want him in some hotel. But it looks as if he will stay in a hotel. Why is it that this petulant man just continues with this court case, demanding armed police protection, which he doesn't warrant because he's not a frontline royal, no longer a frontline royal? Why does he persist with this, do you think?
Well, he persists because you said he's a dog with a bone and he won't let go. But let's be quite clear about this. So far, he has lost in the courts his case for police protection, and therefore there's no reason, in my view, why the Met should protect him at all, unless there is an immediate and serious threat against him personally, which I doubt very much, in which case you'd have a duty to do that. But in the absence of that, that he shouldn't get any protection at all. And the fact that he's not staying in Buckingham Palace, the police should say to him, look, mate, you've been offered somewhere secure. If you don't say they're secure and you want to go somewhere else, not our problem, because you've turned down a secure venue which is available to you. But listen, here's a fact, Kevin, which I think Prince Harry, who said he's worried about security in his country, ought to be aware of. In the year to the end of March 2023, there were 29 gun deaths in this country, in England and Wales, 29 gun deaths. In America, in 2023, there were 46,728 gun deaths. So, Harry, tell me, which is the more vulnerable place for you to be, the US or the UK?
And also, Norman, you will recall that last year, strangely, Harry and his wife, the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, went on these kind of pretend royal tours. Yes. Very odd spectacles they were too. One was to Nigeria, and the other was to Colombia, two of the most dangerous countries on the face of the earth. So you get mixed messages from this guy about his safety and his family's safety, don't you?
It's either a status symbol thing or it's just being petulant and he wants to get his own way. Either way, we shouldn't be having any truck with it. He's not a working royal. He's absented himself from the royal family. He's entitled to do that. If he wants to do that, that's fine. If he wants to go and live in California, that's his entitlement. No one should be shackled to the royal family forever. They don't want to be shackled. But once you opt out of the royal family and you opt out of being a working royal, then you opt out of all the bits and pieces that go with it, including royal protection.
I think this is what that's about. His whole stance on his royal protection is. It's about his status. He sees his brother. He sees his uncle, Edward. He sees, of course, the king. He sees the rest of his family here. Everywhere they go, coppers with guns. The full Monty. That's the status he craves. And as you quite rightly say, we don't mind paying our taxes to look after our working royals, why should we pay taxes to look after a guy who, for this nation, does the square root of sod all?
Well, indeed. I mean, do we pay police protection for Elton John, for David Beckham? You know, I mean, why we don't, and why should we? Unless there's an immediate and imminent threat against an individual, they should not receive protection unless they are in a particular vulnerable position, which is a working royal of seniority. And by the way, we do have police protection for junior royals who probably shouldn't have it, or for senior cabinet ministers like the Home Secretary or the Prime Minister. You know, this is not a kind of add-on. It's not a luxury you add on just to make you look good. It's something that should be there only when there's a threat towards you.
Let me ask you just a last question, not connected with this, but I've done a couple of stories about this. Now, you know, the Los Angeles fires, a real tragedy. I used to live in Los Angeles. It's a personal tragedy for me to see a city that I love literally destroyed by this inferno. Great swathes of a fantastic city razed to the ground. Now, Harry and Meghan turned up in the middle of this, you know, to theatrically hug a couple of victims, to be photographed sifting through the wreckage of someone's house, you know, with the embers still burning, their possessions still, you know, smouldering there. And a lot of residents of Los Angeles just said it was a disgusting spectacle. An actress called Justine Bateman, who's a very famous actress over there, TV actress, she said these people are disaster tourists. Other people have called them tragedy vultures and grief grifters. And it looks suspiciously to me, just my view, but I know that it's shared. I have many friends in LA, and this is what everybody thought. I thought it was just for a photo op. No other major celebrities went and did that. What were your thoughts on that, Norman?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, I think we used to call them ambulance chasers in the old days. Look, I mean, were they there to do anything useful? Or were they there to get a photo op? And I think we know the answer to that. And, you know, getting a photo op out of someone else's tragedy is not an attractive proposition.
It certainly isn't. I don't know the veracity of these reports, but I did read one report that said they spent the whole of 17 minutes sifting through the wreckage. So that was the level of their commitment to that tragedy. Norman, how great to have you on board. Come on again very soon. That's Norman Baker, former cabinet minister, of course, and author. He's a royal expert because he's written a book, his great book, called And What Do You Do? What the Royal Family Don't Want You to Know. It's a really good book. Have a read of that. Next up, we are going to talk about another royal story, really, but it's not. It's about Prince Andrew's Chinese spy mate, who's been banned from the country for his espionage activities. This was the guy that Andrew got to meet Prime Ministers Theresa May and David Cameron. Got close, right up and close and personal to the higher echelons of Britain's political meritocracy, and you know, just really got his tentacles into British society thanks to Prince Andrew. Well, he's been banned from the country, and his appeal failed because he's a spy, basically. All the papers keep saying he's an alleged spy. Well, courts of this land have decided he was a spy. He was spying for the Chinese Communist Party. Well, quite right, he's banned from the country. Thanks very much, by the way, for your characteristically excellent judgment, Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, the not-so-grand Duke of York. But he's still got 6 directorships to British companies. And apparently there's nothing we can do about this.